Hi everyone, I'm Stephanie Arell. I'm going to talk today about something that I'm not sure I really experienced fully until recently as an adult. I really don't think so. And that is this idea of our bodies teaching us in ways that are different than what school teaches us or what textbooks teach us, or even books in general. As I was reflecting on this video and thinking about what I wanted to offer, because I do think it's really, really important for us to pay attention to our bodies. And I've talked about this ad nauseum throughout this YouTube station, and it's really what most of my work is about at some level. I was reflecting on how I don't know that I really fully paid attention to my own body always until recently. And I still think it's something I have to readjust my attention to, even though it's something I work on as an academic even. What that says to me alone is that our culture does not facilitate a sustained discourse with our body. I do not believe, as an academic and as somebody who loves books, clearly, that we reject any part of our learning, but that there are things that we can talk about, learn about, discuss, that our bodies teach us that we cannot access in the same way through texts. I especially think that this is critically important as we encounter more and more technological advances, and as we continue to engage with social media in ways that start to shape our perceptions of the world. And I want to start with social media as an example, so to speak, for our bodies teaching us. I'm thinking of two specific things, maybe three. One, how many times have you gone on social media and realized you've lost 20 minutes of time? You were supposed to be doing something else, or you wanted to be doing something else, or even that you had something to check, and then all of a sudden 20 minutes go by and you're like, darn, I wanted to do X, Y, and Z during this time. I didn't. Now I have to do something else, so this isn't going to get done today. Our bodies got kind of hijacked by the experience, and literally hijacked, and we lost time. Our bodies have communicated to us by hijacking us. Maybe there's not new knowledge to gain there, but think about it. It's not a conscious thing you made a choice to do. Literally, physiologically, you got enveloped by something that took your attention to the expense of something else. Second example, how many times have you gotten on social media and feel your anxiety, anger, heart rate go up, whatever? You're somehow triggered by what you're considering. Maybe it's what somebody wrote on your social media. Maybe it's that you see a couple ads that create some feeling of self-consciousness. Maybe you feel panicked that you have to buy something fast because it'll be gone. Maybe you see something that somebody's doing, you didn't know they were there, you're pissed, you're jealous, whatever the case is, but now you've physiologically altered your presence in the world in a way that's not regulated. Your body has communicated with you. That social media has the thing to kind of like turn it into something else. Again, this isn't exactly where I'm going ultimately in terms of learning. I just want you to pay attention to how your body is the thing that's communicating, because the conscious process has gotten kind of sidetracked in this engagement. Third, and this is the one that happens to me, which drives me berserk. I pick up my phone to do something, and there's some notification or somebody's put an update on a story, and all of a sudden I'm there and I totally forget what I intended to do on my phone. I actually don't know how to fix that one, and I want to work on it, because it then takes me a minute to go, wait a minute, what was I trying to do when I just got pulled off into this? and now I'm not mentally where I wanted to be 5 minutes ago, and now it takes me 10 minutes to do a task that should have taken 2.5. All of these things are physiological, also subconscious. That's a lot where the body rests. This is the grounds from which I want you to think about what I mean about what has my body taught me. It's very simple to say, and this is really one thing I've learned from my body, and it's simple to say, but I want to say it is not easy to do for me. I'm super type A. I like to be on the go. I have talked about this in other videos, but I like to work out. I'm pretty intense about the way that I work. I enjoy my work. I work a lot. I work with people. I go into New York City. I teach. I'm on the go. I have challenges with listening to my body to make decisions about how I moderate my time. It is a skill that I have to hone. I have to hone it because I've never been taught it. People can say it, but that's different than being taught, right? So if I tell you something about American history, I give you a fact, you know this fact. You have not learned anything about the dynamics of history. To learn about the dynamics about how things happen historically takes time to study. I think that this is part of what we have with the body. It is not a simple thing, especially depending on certain personalities, how one starts to learn, listen to, understand their body, and then operate from that knowledge in a way that's responsible, in a way that grants access to new knowledge, in a way that is also balanced with other data. The easiest place from which to talk about this, I think, for me, is to give you examples from the physical ways that I enjoy moving my body. One is from dancing, another is from being in the gym and doing CrossFit, and the other is being on a mountain or climbing. So in dance, what I have learned, one, when you dance, the ideal in your movement patterns is that the movement is continuous. When people watch dancers, one of the ways that a dancer enhances the enjoyment of another person is that they use the movement and they always fill space by continuing movement out and then bringing it back into the body. But that doesn't stop, and it really fills space. And engaging in that kind of behavior taught me something about space. More than that, more about my own body too, but really that how we live into space, how we enter space, how we fill space happens literally from how we are in our bodies. You know this by watching somebody walk into a room. It's easy to identify who's confident, who's not confident. It's easy to identify who might have an attitude and who doesn't have an attitude. Easy to identify, depending on what culture you're from, if somebody's gonna be okay with your culture or not, immediately by the way that they engage in their body language. And I learned that partially through engaging in dance and knowing that the way my body participates in space is both affected by that space and affects other people in that space. Affects as in affects. I would say a second thing, and this is related more to doing ballroom dancing and having a partner, that my reciprocity with my partner is very much dependent on the tension that I hold in my body. If my body is tense, my partner and I cannot move together in a way that looks liquid, free, reciprocal, empathic. I have to relax enough, even though I'm maintaining a form, and all of these things have metaphors for the way that we live, right? So I have to relax, but have integrity in my form in order to respond to him and where he's leading me in any given dance. That kind of reciprocity and empathy is also the word that I used, and that's very technical use of the word empathy, really gets taught to me through my body. I mean, I can read about it, sure, but I don't understand it deeply unless I can feel it. And I actually wrote a chapter about this in my book on shame, affect theory, and Christian formation, and the importance of empathy. And at the beginning, I used the metaphor of ballroom dancing because I think that it's a good one. Anything you do with somebody, with your body, can help you understand that if you get rigid, there's going to be a response, and it's not going to be one that facilitates our gentle participating in whatever act this is together. With CrossFit, and this is something that I've been working on with CrossFit, and there's a particular reason why I think CrossFit's a good example of this, is that CrossFit is a method of exercise that asks you to perform difficult skills and tasks or exercises, compound movements like squats or lifting a barbell over your head, while your heart rate is high or while your stress system is very lit up. And I find it extremely difficult to have my heart be stressed and concentrate. But the discipline of CrossFit and engaging in this kind of bodily way of paying attention to putting my heart under duress and then asking it to perform something difficult has helped me think about that in every area of my life. And that is not something I could have ever learned from a book, no matter how much I read it. It really had to be participated in. And it is a scary thing. And let me also say to you that that kind of stimulus, it does not matter what physical ability you have. That stimulus can be created for anybody at any age. And I mean any body at any age. So it does not matter what injuries you have, you can always create the experience of a heightened heart rate and then be asked to perform another physical task. What it makes me think about as I'm doing it is, how am I breathing? What am I seeing? What's my vision focusing on? Is my body in the proper place? Have I gotten things organized enough so that I can transition from one thing to another? Really not being sloppy, because if I'm sloppy, I can maybe injure myself. So things have to be in order. Every single thing I'm saying you can apply to other situations in life, right? If I'm gonna go in and have to take a test, for instance, do I have all of the pencils or pens or computer systems or whatever? Do I have all those things with me? Do I feel comfortable in my clothes? Is my breathing regulated? Have I gotten enough sleep? Did I eat enough food so that I can keep concentrating? All of these things are the same. Now you're under duress, and now you have to perform. Understanding the mechanisms of how to be really effective at that did not come about for me until I really started engaging in CrossFit. The third is really recent, and this is climbing mountains, which I hope to do in my life again. And I don't know how I want it to look in my future, but I got a little spoiled because I got to do that in Italy, and now I just want to go back to Italy and go climb the mountains. And actually, I'm really scared to do it again. And it was really scary when I first did it. And even that is a lesson, because there's a certain amount of healthiness, I think, that comes from being intimidated, being frightened, facing that, not feeling as if one's triumphed over it, but that it will continue to be a thing that's intimidating, but exhilarating once one engages in it. From the exercise of climbing with my body up the side of a pretty incredible structure, I learned things about pacing. But more than that, something that the guide that I was with that said to me was, you do you. And I know that that's a real basic lesson. I cannot tell you, since he said that to me, and this was about a year ago, how much I think about you do you. And what he was saying to me was I was slow because it was a new activity for me, and there were people that were behind me, and it's pretty unsafe to pay attention to what other people are doing. If any of you have ever done bouldering or climbing, you lose focus on what you're doing, which can be dangerous, right? So if somebody wants to go past you, they have to go around, let them go past you. Do not pay attention to what they're doing. Continue to focus on what you're doing. How many implications does that have to do with your life? Literally. Paying attention to what you're doing and not to what somebody else is doing. Not comparing yourself, although comparison is a pretty human thing. That's for another video. But focusing on yourself is so critical to stay in your own lane, to keep yourself safe, to achieve your own goal. And your goal may not be the same as another person's goal. So like this real focused, trying to think of the word, like really directed attention to yourself and what you're doing, how important that is, and not being attentive to what other people are doing when you are so focused on yourself in a situation where you're being asked to perform, or just in life in general. Like, you do you. Such a powerful thing to think about. I always like nuance, so I do think that that doesn't mean we don't have responsibility towards other people, but I think that when there's so much noise from what other people are doing, what they're achieving, what they're getting, that thinking about staying in our own lane and really focusing on ourselves when engaged in physically in this pivotal way and then communicated to simultaneously cognitively, that lesson was massive for me. Think about it. I would say I think about his voice in my mind probably once a week. And to be at my age and have that lesson come from that physical experience is pretty special. That's probably one of the biggest reasons why I'd like to do the sport again, because I learned so much about myself in the activity, and it underscored for me how we learn from our bodies in ways that we can never access in a textbook. Thanks.